Michael McConnell and Jack Baker made headlines in the 1970s when they worked a loophole in Minnesota law and filed a marriage license in Blue Earth County. Almost 45 years later, the pair has told their story in a memoir called The Wedding Heard Round the World, America's First Gay Marriage, published by the University of Minnesota Press. Here to speak about their new book is Michael and Jack. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Nice to have you on the air here with us. Michael, you met at a social dance in Oklahoma.
That's right. It was a barn party, actually.
It was a barn party, okay. Can you tell folks just how dangerous was it to be gay in the 1960s? It was not easy.
That's true. That really is true. But, you know, I grew up in a family that was extremely loving and very protective. And though I was known to be gay to my family in my late teens, they sort of gathered around after an initial discussion and said, "You mess with Michael, you mess with our family. Don't mess with Michael."
Jack, why was marriage important? Why was that the next frontier?
Well, because Michael wouldn't be my lover unless I agreed to marry him, and so I had to agree to go to law school and find out how to do it. So that was our agenda. So I would go to law school and figure it all out.
Somebody adopted somebody, and you changed your name to a gender neutral, and you got the Blue Earth County clerk to issue a license. Is that the story?
Right. That's right. I adopted Jack. Figured that one out. He's 2 months older than I am, and he's my son. So I adopted him, and then went to Blue Earth County, and we established residency in Blue Earth with friends who lived there, and then I went in and applied for the license, and then the license was issued, and we were subsequently married by the Reverend Roger Lynn.
We have some photos, by the way, that are in the book, we should say. So let's just kind of roll some of those through here. This is actually at the Blue Earth County Courthouse, I believe.
No,
is that
this
right?
is actually at Hennepin County.
Hennepin County.
That was our first attempt at getting a license.
Okay.
And that's the case that went to the U.S. Supreme Court.
And you called that a landmark indecision in the book from the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Right, because the Supreme Court denied the appeal, but did not deny the request. They simply said that they dismissed the appeal for want of a substantial federal question. And in lawyer talk, that basically means that we will answer your question, but not now. Now is not the time. So it was an indecision, but it was just merely a denial. So the decision in Hennepin and in Minnesota Supreme Court was allowed to stand for 40 years until finally last summer the Supreme Court said Baker versus Nelson must be and now is overruled. So they did answer the question.
I do want to ask a little bit about that, but we have some other pictures too. I mean, what was it like with the media attention at the time around your marriage and what you went through? I mean, this was in Look magazine. Remember the old Look magazine?
Right.
Wow. How tough was that?
Well, you know, Jack and I were confident. We were never ashamed. We were never guilty. We never suffered the kinds of things that many gay people went through. So we felt confident, and we had our vision for our future, and we were going to live that vision. And I think that was part of our strength. And we had each other. We could rely on each other, and we had a family that also gathered around us. So that made it possible for us to do this, even during a time when there was great social upheaval. I mean, you know, this was during the time of the Vietnam War.
Right.
And lots of social groups were having upheaval during that time. Women, blacks, and many others.
You had a job in line at the U of M as a librarian.
That's right.
And when all this happened, they kind of pulled the rug out from under you. But subsequently, years have passed. U of M Press is publishing your book, and you were honored. I think you got an apology from President Kaler.
That's correct. That's correct.
How do you feel about all that?
Well, you know, Jack said something to me one time that I believe is true. He said, you know, not getting the job at the university turned out to be a blessing in disguise. And the reason was that I had a terrific career of 37 years with Hennepin County Library, which is one of the premier library systems in the country. And I got to fulfill my professional wish there. The university, that was a kind of dark cloud that hung over me for many, many years. However, when President Kaler sat down with us and gave a formal apology, that black cloud went away, and I felt like this is great. Jack had been student body president at the university and reelected for a second term. He was the first, and his law degree was from there. So we had deep ties to the university, and this let those ties open and be good. And then we decided this is the place to put our papers.
Speaking of papers, have you, in the wake of the change in the Minnesota law, I understand you did not get, in a sense, remarried in Minnesota. Is that right?
No, because it's against the law to get a second marriage license until the first one is invalidated by a court, and no court has ever invalidated the license that was issued by Blue Earth County, and that's the argument we're making with Blue Earth County. And if Blue Earth County continues to refuse to record the license, then we'll have to ask a federal judge to take a look at the whole thing and decide. Is it right? Are they right or are they wrong? And I think they're wrong.
I love the picture, by the way, that last picture of the two of you with the Star Tribune headline that we had. What does it feel like to have so much change occur in such a small amount of time, really, with the issue of gay marriage?
Well, it wasn't a small amount of time. It was 40.
Well, true, but legislative action seems to have happened fairly fast.
At the end, yes, it did. Right, it picked up speed, and it did. And finally, the Supreme Court did answer the very question that we asked, which was, do gay people have a right to get married? And the Supreme Court said yes, it's a constitutional right.
Well, the book is The Wedding Heard Round the World by U of M Press.
Thank you.
Good luck with it, and thanks, fellas, for coming over. Appreciate it.
Pleasure having you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
Great to see you.